Even though everybody now and then has intrusive thoughts, for people with obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD for short, it is much more prevalent. They can happen and take place literally every single day, and I speak on that from personal experience. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, which is when I was in middle school, I was diagnosed with OCD. OCD comes in many forms. There's not one specific type of OCD. It's how I like to look at OCD is it's an umbrella, and there are many different subtypes of it. Just to give you an idea of what I mean by subtypes is back when I was first diagnosed with OCD, which this is actually what got me diagnosed with it, I had contamination OCD. And when I received therapy, eventually that subtype subsided and I don't experience nearly the same symptoms with that specific subtype as I did years ago. However, my subtypes have evolved and morphed into ones that I have today and I really struggle with. I would rather not talk about the subtypes that I have and keep it to myself, but I will say that it is a daily struggle with them and I really have a difficult time with them. However, even though it is a daily struggle, as it is for a lot of other people as well, thankfully and fortunately, there are ways to help at least alleviate the symptoms. And by these symptoms, I also am including intrusive thoughts. These techniques that I'm going to talk about are very helpful, and I speak on that from personal experience, especially the first one that I'm going to mention. And the first one is to write your intrusive thoughts down or speak them out loud. Whether you're writing them down on an actual piece of paper or on your iPad, your laptop, your phone, whatever it is. And if you choose to speak them out loud, talking to somebody, or even just speaking to yourself about it. One of the many reasons why this is so beneficial is because when we let an intrusive thought live in our heads rent-free, they can build up continuously to the point where we believe them 100%. They can intensify rapidly to the point where we believe that that is reality. However, when we either speak them aloud or we write them down, type them, whatever, it gives us a different perspective and a different point of view on that thought. What I mean by that is when we are either looking at our thought because we wrote it or we are actively listening to ourselves say the thought, we can shift our perspective and say to ourselves, oh my gosh, that sounds or looks way different than it did in my head. That is a wild, wild thought. I speak on that from personal experience. So many times have I had this intrusive thought or thoughts plural, and they seemed so real. I was believing them. And then I would write them down or speak them out loud, and I would think to myself, am I really worried about this happening? Are you serious? And even though I say that, don't think to yourself, oh, I feel like such a fool for having these thoughts. No, that's not fair to you. That is only going to make you feel worse. We all think. We're all free thinkers. That's part of being human. Your thoughts do not define you. However, what is different is if you choose to act on those thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, then that's a different story. But anyway, do not feel discouraged or get down about yourself about having these intrusive thoughts. It is not your fault. They do not define who you are. They are part of the OCD. And unfortunately, just like many other conditions, OCD is a very difficult condition to navigate. But anyway, yeah, writing them down, speaking them out loud gives you a chance to see or hear your thoughts in a different point of view and change the way you feel about them and think to yourself, that is so false, so misleading. Okay, I'm done with that one. This second one is helpful as well, but I'm going to give a little disclaimer. It is difficult to do at first. But honestly, at the same time, pretty much every other technique to help combat and battle the intrusive thoughts are difficult as well. But anyway, this second way is when you get that urge to complete a compulsion, wait a few minutes. I say that because when we first get that intrusive thought, that obsession, our instinct for people with OCD, our instinct is to automatically perform the compulsion. However, when we choose to wait, even if it's just a few minutes, before performing the compulsion, as time goes on, our desire and our willingness to perform the compulsion can decrease. Time can go on, maybe even a few minutes, and all of a sudden you're like, actually, nah, I don't need to perform this compulsion. I'm not even worried about it anymore. Again, I speak on that from personal experience. I practice this where before I perform, like even if it's mentally reviewing or mentally checking something, I think, okay, I'm gonna give myself a few minutes. I'm gonna distract myself with something. And in a few minutes, if I still feel the same way, I'm going to give myself another few minutes. And a lot of those times, my willingness to complete the compulsion decreases and then actually diminishes. And yes, I know that this can seem difficult, especially when an intrusive thought is doing its thing, being intrusive, but it's doable. You just have to give yourself time, give yourself grace, give yourself patience with it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a lot of practice to feel more comfortable with giving yourself time intervals before feeling the need to do a compulsion. So I hope that those techniques that I talked about today help you at least alleviate the intensity of the symptoms and experiences that can be caused by OCD. Thank you for tuning into this video and stay tuned for my next one.